Hello and welcome to Draw Cartoons. It is time for the first Draw Cartoons Discord showcase of the year. As always, you guys have been very busy uploading your art to the Discord channel this month, and I can't wait to show it off. Buckle up, hit that like button and that subscribe button if you haven't already. That really does help me out. And without further ado, let's get into it. First up is this sketch by I Like Turtles. Me too, by the way. I just think they're neat. And I don't know which character this is because I don't watch Naruto, but here's a Naruto-inspired drawing. Especially good work on the face. The blocked out shadow on the other side of the face is very effective and it's very, like comic booky. When you just use the same color as the line work to shade things in, it's very superhero-esque. You'll see this in a lot of old comics, especially from like the 70s, 80s, maybe 90s. I've just realized who this is. It's Kakashi, isn't it? I'm pretty sure. It's been a long time. Anyway, that's not the point. This is really cool. I wanted to showcase this one because I really like that shading technique on the face there, and I think you've done just a really, really good job with it. The headband needs to be drawn in a bit so it looks like it's resting more on the forehead. Right now it's protruding maybe slightly too much. And keep going with drawing hands. Don't be shy about drawing hands. They're really, really hard. Keep going. One day you'll master it. Next up is a drawing by This A Bucket. This is the Toon Platoon, and I have a bit of a soft spot for drawings where there's kind of something new to look at everywhere you look in the drawing. Up here we've got a octopus kind of character who's just apparently fast asleep at the wheel. Or in the crow's nest rather, sorry. We've got this guy down here just fishing. They look very focused on this. This apple looking guy over here, very, very pleased with themselves for some reason. That's a big grin. Just a lot of detail and a lot of love that's gone into this. It's very, there's just something to look at everywhere. With a spot of color, this could be enchanting. Really nice. I'm not entirely sure what the name of this specific Spider-Man suit by Vengeance is. I think I recognize it from one of the recent games. Either way, it looks badass. Really good sense of proportions and anatomy here. The way the kind of neck flows down into the shoulders is just excellent. Really good work on the chest and the arms. You got like blue lighting on the darker parts of the suit. Just all around excellent. I was going to crop this piece in, since there's a lot of room on the right that at first glance doesn't look like it has to be there, but then I noticed that faint glow. And I remembered something about proportioning your canvas. It can be quite artistically interesting to have the point of interest, which is the character, off to one side and then not really much going on over in the corner. This leans a bit more into this thing called rule of thirds, although this isn't thirds, this is more halves. But that's more of a photography thing, but it very much does qualify for art as well. That's something I might make a video on in the future. Here's an assortment of drawings by Negan, 1998. They immediately caught my eye for two reasons. The first thing is that the muted kind of constrained color scheme here is really effective. They've chosen this sort of sepia tone for it where everything is some measure of brown or a very desaturated orange. And it makes these characters look like they belong together within a certain scene. Sometimes restraining your color palette can just be very visually appealing. Another reason why this caught my attention is simply because it's very reminiscent of 80s, maybe 70s, perhaps 90s Disney animation, but not just Disney as well, things like Universal, Don Bluth, that kind of thing. All three of these look like they're characters straight out of something like Oliver and Company, and yet, as far as memory serves, they're not. These are very cool. It's nice how you've played with different proportions, different ear sizes and nose sizes and eye sizes. The proportions are just changing between the breeds, and it's very, very well done. Here is some very charming pixel art by Poe. I love the way that you've used simply a darker reddy brown for the line work of the desk there, that kind of coffee table. The choice of color for the shadow underneath that table is just really nice as well. It blends seamlessly with that pale background. Even the sheen on the bottle is just excellent. You could argue that it should maybe more follow the curvature of the flask, but honestly, that's really, really good. It looks fantastic. Pixel art is very fun to work with, and I encourage you guys to give it a go. You can get hold of some fairly cheap software like Sprite. You can get that on Steam. I think there are other ways to get it as well, I'm not entirely sure, but that gives you a really good way to get into pixel art and experiment with it. Here's a brand new original character by Jose. This is Roseanne, and they look like someone that belongs in Dead by Daylight. And I'd really not like to come up against an enemy that looks something like this. She looks absolutely terrifying. It might be the mask and the curved sword, I don't know, maybe something to do with that combination. Either way, it's really cool to see you guys working on your own original creations. I like the stocky proportions. The cartoony style overall does make her look a little less threatening, but maybe that's for the best. Here's a drawing of Itchy from Itchy and Scratchy, which is of course from Simpsons, by Ajman, or AJ Man. I never knew which one it was, but I don't think you've ever corrected me, so maybe you don't mind. Anyway, I like this one. I like how the eyes are just pointing out in different directions, just to make it extra goofy. And the likeness is really good. Nice to see a bit more digital art in the mix on the Discord, so yeah, just keep it up. Here's Supersonic by JD, and it caught my eye because of that shading style that I talked about a couple pictures ago. It's present again here underneath the head, just inside the gloves and the socks of the shoes, and especially behind the spines on the back of his head. This is a bit more of that comic book style that I just find really appealing. I think it's just a really good way of shading things, especially if you just want to practice more on the shape of the shade and not necessarily the color that you want to shade it. It's still impactful and you still get a bit of practice in. That aside, really good proportions on Sonic here. You've got all the shapes right, really nice pose and great work on the hands and the expression especially. Here's one by AMacD of a police character called Harley. You did say in the Discord that you don't like it, but I really do. I think the expression is fantastic, the way you've drawn their hair is just really detailed and it's got a great level of flow to it. The blue and the red light kind of on either side of the head is just very effective. The cell shading is superb, and you've even done a trick called chromatic aberration, which you might be able to see if you look closely at this picture on the line work. You'll see light blue lines and red lines either side. This is actually something very easy to do with software if you know how, but it can dramatically improve the quality of your art piece by just giving it some more impact. It makes it look diffused and mysterious. So yeah, this one really caught my eye. I love it, and so should you. Fastest cake, which I'm struggling to visualize. How is a cake fast? Is it just like a really quick baking process, or did you throw the cake and now it's going fast? I think I put too much thought into that. Anyway, they've done this really cool illustration. I don't recognize the character. It could be something original, but it looks something like a statue. I love the lighting on this, and the thing that really caught my eye the most was two things really. The cross-hatching for the shading, which is where you get your line and you just kind of scribble in these little straight lines that sometimes they cross over and sometimes they don't. It's a very quick and easy, well, not necessarily easy, but it's certainly a quick way of getting some shadows down. The facial expression is very thoughtful and pensive. The proportions of the face and the body are very interesting and cartoony, but also kind of not. The level of detail here is fantastic, especially on the creases of the fabric. While the festive season is well and truly over, Mochi Milky Bun did draw this back in December, and it's of a genuinely delicious looking roast turkey. I feel like I could just reach into my computer screen and just start eating that. I think the light and shade here is really good. I love the snowy backdrop. There's something very warm and cozy about this piece. There's not really much negative that I can say about this. I suppose one thing I can say is the perspective, that near glass of champagne wouldn't quite look that way from this angle. We'd be able to see a bit more of the rim of the glass. But otherwise, Mochi, keep at it. And last but not least, Murat Kakar is back with this portrait of Wednesday Addams. Very topical. I feel like everyone's talking about that at the moment. I might be the only person left in the whole world that's not started watching it yet. Either way, really good symmetry on this piece, and the hair is just looking spectacular. Lots of detail there for every little fine thread of the hair. I also love how you went through the effort of adding a few loose strands just there on the top left of the hair, just kind of sticking out, looking a little bit unneat. The freckles are also a good touch. Keep working on your levels, so you know, your light and your dark, your values, because that's what this piece is. Remember to draw with what your eyes see and not what your brain thinks should be there. And that's it for this month's episode of the Draw Cartoons Discord Showcase. Thank you so much, everyone, for putting in your submissions, or not really submissions, that's not really what they are, so to speak. It's just more showing off the practice that you've been doing so that I have something to talk about. If you enjoyed the video, guys, please do like and comment below, especially if you had a favorite. Did you have a favorite? It's not a competition, of course, but I'm curious. And if you haven't already, please do click that subscribe button, and that way you'll never miss any of my future tutorials. Until next time.